Hi everyone, welcome to another My Life in Objects video. So I thought I'd share another book that I'm adding to my programming books library, and this is the Go programming language. This is actually a second-hand copy. Got very reasonable. It's in pretty good condition in terms of physically. The first chapter I did know does have some underlining in it, some markings, but in some ways that adds a little bit to the charm. You may recognise one of the authors here, Brian Kernighan, as being the co-author for the famous C programming language book, which I have, and I think I covered in a previous episode. So I thought it'd be interesting to flick through this, and if you're familiar with the other book, to go through this and just see what the format's like. If you've sort of seen the book in passing but never had a good look at it. So a lot of these books are similarly laid out, I find, where you have this quite nice succinct tutorial that usually sort of walks you through a particular problem, and you just sort of solve it using the language, and it sort of takes you through step by step. And then after that it goes through certain aspects of the language, the usual suspects like data types, composite types, functions, methods, interfaces, and so on. Go routines, channels, concurrency, shared variables, packages, Go tool, testing, reflection, and low-level programming. So obviously specifically around the use of the Go programming language. On the channel I also have a reasons and resources episode for Go as well. Yep, so the origins of Go. So this is in this little introduction section, and then we've got the tutorial. Like I said, it sort of goes through stepwise and various stuff. So like I said, being a second-hand book, there's always going to possibly be some page markings in here, but in some ways it adds a little bit to the charm. It's interesting to see what whoever had owned this book before me was focusing in on, and I don't even know if that, I don't think it extends much beyond that really, but I'm flicking through pretty quick. But you hopefully, let me just see if I can see a better example here. Programming structures, you might be able to see better here, what the programming structure looks like in Go. And I'm sure if you're familiar with other programming languages, it doesn't look dissimilar to other languages in terms of how it's laid out. It's actually pretty, not that it's a problem, but the paper's quite lightweight paper compared to, say, the C programming language. I think that's just a thing generally nowadays with programming books, is the they can seemingly get away with paper that's a lot thinner than it maybe used to be back in the day. I mean, it's just about, I don't know if you can see that. It's easy to spot on a page where there's no writing on the other side, but certainly you've got, under certain light, there is bleed through there, but it's not to the point where you'd have problems reading, I don't think, anyway. Well, at least I wouldn't. So some stuff on different types here, strings, Unicode. Yeah, always nice to see like a good explanation of how strings might be represented in memory, which is always handy. I came from learning or working in a language in BASIC where you didn't really think about such things, and then going from that and a number of years later, exploring C, it was a bit of an eye-opener in terms of, oh, okay, this is how C is handling strings. How am I going to deal with that? So it's always interesting when you look at any book where, when you look at the section under strings, string literals, how how strings are actually handled in the language, and how apparent that is in terms of garbage collection and memory allocation and things like that. It's a pretty straightforward layout. There's no fancy color coding here, but over the years, when I started in programming, I've not been spoilt, I suppose, by code highlighters, although I use them now. I'm of an era when I can remember where everything was either in, depending on what colour of screen you had, was either in a sort of greyish white colour or a green, in the case of green screen, or that sort of orange colour. It wasn't until, I would say, I'm not even sure when I started to see highlighted text, because I can't remember when I was using screens where it was multiple colour screens, whether in fact even then IDEs bothered with coloured highlighting on certain structures or not. I just can't remember. But I know later on that became a thing, particularly in some of the sort of more visual environments, like the Visual Basics of the world and Visual Cs maybe. And of course, reading code is always made easier when a language has a nice sort of indentation or a way in which the code is represented on the page as well. So there we go. I thought you'd be interested in just seeing this. If you've been curious about the book, what the layout looks like, you can see it's all broken down pretty nicely. There's all nice, succinct sort of sections marked off. And I think, if I'm right here, where did I see it? There were some exercises, yeah. So it's got integrated exercises into this, and it's something we'll see going forward. I'm going to look at some other books as well. I've got trying to remember the name of the language, but I've had a couple of other books arrive since then. I think a book on Haskell and a book on Ruby, and the book on Ruby I think is the book Learn Ruby the Hard Way, which is got loads of exercises in it. So nice to see. Now on this one, the exercises in line, I think they pretty much are, aren't they, as you go along. I don't pay too much attention to the end of the chapters. So 3 point. See what happens when you get to the end of the chapter, whether there's a few long form exercises. No, it doesn't appear there is, at least on this chapter anyway. It looks like they're all in line as you go along. That's cool. So they're not all sort of saved up to the end and then you slog your way through them. That's cool. Yeah, I quite like it when they do that. As you sort of learn a section, it consolidates the. So you can see at the end of each section, it's consolidating the learning as you go along. Excellent. Well, there we go. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.